Hi everyone, and welcome to another Destiny Movie Night Hangout, where we give perspectives during a live discussion with our guests. Tonight we are opening up the movie Lucy, and I have with me Sylvia from the Netherlands. Hi Sylvia.
Hi Joanna.
And we have Valentin from Slovenia. Hi Valentin.
Hi.
So before we start, and for those who haven't watched the movie yet, Lucy tells the story of a lady that gets caught in drug trafficking business that is stored in her stomach. And that drug, called CPH4, has the ability to increase the person's access to the brain. When the drug spills into her body, Lucy starts a journey of survival, discovery, and knowledge until she reaches 100% of her brain. And she becomes apparently omnipresent. So as a typical Hollywood movie, there is violence, car racing. However, tonight we will focus on what does it mean to be human, the life on Earth, and give our Destonian view of it. I would also like to remind everyone that you can ask questions during the live session. And by doing that, just access the Q&A feature on your Google Plus event. Right, so we're going to start. Sylvia, what was one main point in the movie that resonated with your own process that you've been walking with Destiny?
Yeah, well, there were many points, but one point I'm going to pick, and that is when the professor is giving a lecture. He's saying, let's go from evolution to revolution. And well, that's the point we see a lot also in the media, where people say, oh, let's go make a revolution, just fight. And the whole point of fighting, I had that in my process for a long time. I was fighting a lot of things. I was fighting the things that were inside of me, but I thought they were outside of me. So I was fighting them outside, but there was no movement, there was no progress in it, until I understood that it was also inside of me, because it was a reflection of me. And then I started to, well, direct myself better, and of course a lot of self-forgiveness and correcting myself in well, in real time. So that was for me a thing that stood out.
Cool. Thank you, Sylvia. Valentin, do you want to share with us your main point regarding this movie?
Yeah, the main point was the claim that humans access just 10% of the brain, and the dolphins access much more, 20% of the brain. And this raised the question, if we as humans already know that or perceive that dolphins are more intelligent, why do we not investigate their lives more or respect them, but we are now killing them in millions?
Cool, very cool point, Valentin. Indeed, like we tend to recognize certain things and we accept them as they are, instead of actually saying no, stop, let's change even our own selves. And for me, one point that resonated was when Lucy, after having the drug in her blood system, she realized that she didn't feel pain, she didn't feel fear, and no emotions, and that's what we think makes us humans. So that actually takes me to our next question, because she then realizes that for us she was still human, even though she didn't feel these emotions, and those emotions are actually obstacles. So guys, I want to ask you, in your process, what makes us humans? Sylvia, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I go ahead. Well, what made me realize that I'm a human, and what makes me a human, is becoming more in contact with my own body, with my own, also my own mind, understanding the thoughts that are going on within me. So being more aware of me and my surroundings. So that makes me more human, I think. But the whole thing about she was not having any pain, in the same sentence as having no fear and no emotions, I can get the last part of having no fear and having no emotions, because in a way that's an illusion. But the pain part, I think it's more like a signal of the body. If you're really in contact with your body, you know when there is pain. You know when there is pain from a mind perspective, or pain from really a physical pain. So I think that's important. And it's not good to say, well, just leave out the whole pain point. And that's cool. I don't think that's cool.
Okay, Sylvia, yeah, I think actually that part of the movie, she was probably mentioning, maybe I didn't quote correctly, she was mentioning that all that the other person was feeling was pain, and that was actually an obstacle to see beyond that.
Okay, so it's more like the emotional part of the pain.
Yes, it was more like exactly the emotions and the fear associated to it, which she was able to let it go. And before, she was actually defining herself as that. And for example, when she actually met her flatmate, and her flatmate was sharing all those emotions regarding love and sex, and she was much more like, she wasn't so focused, in like she was no longer interested in that's part of life that we have defined as life, basically, and our own selves. So Valentin, what is your perspective on this, and regarding being humans?
Yeah, so I was also recently reading the interview with the Dolphins that gave interesting perspective about the humans, and there are two different words for what we consider as humans as consciousness. It's very different meaning between the consciousness and the awareness. We humans think that we are very advanced because we have ability to think, that the thoughts constantly generate in our minds, and we then compare ourselves to the animals and think that the animals are less aware, less intelligent because they cannot function the same way as humans are or do. So what the text about the dolphins exposed, that animals do not need to think, or they perceive the thinking to be very limited. They are in state of awareness, and they communicate. They do not communicate like chit chat, you know, like I want to say something to you in order for you to understand. They understand immediately because they are aware of their bodies. Animals have different roles on this planet, and the humans, we are like lost in the universe. We do not know what life is, what is our role here, and we tried to analyze things and break them apart and try to understand. But the animals are constantly in the state of understanding, and they do not need to communicate like humans do.
Okay, cool. And we will also share the link of these EQUAF interviews that Valentin was just mentioning. We will share it on the description of this Hangout when it goes on demand. And as you were saying, you were mentioning, Valentin, about self-awareness and how animals, especially dolphins, are an expression of such awareness. And in the movie, at some point, I was actually considering that, oh, now this person is reaching some new levels of awareness. And it's funny that it's not the first movie that we see that these characters have to take an external drug or something external stimulus in order to develop it. So do we actually, like, from your experience of walking the Desteni I process, do we really need to take drugs to reach self-awareness? Maybe Sylvia, do you want to go ahead first, and then Valentin, give your perspective?
I was just out of the whole conversation, so I have no idea where you guys are.
Okay, not a problem. So let's Valentin, go ahead, and then Sylvia, you pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah. So the question was about.
Wait, I go for it. Sure. So, Sylvia, I was mentioning that there have been some movies that expand on this point of, for you to reach self-awareness or this perceived self-awareness, you have to take some external substance like drugs. But what we notice, what has been your experience while walking the Desteni I process in terms of reaching your awareness without such physical external stimulus?
Yeah. So let me continue.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So the outside stimulus like drugs are enhancing the human mind generally, and they limit the self-expression of the individual. I'm not aware of that there has been any drug developed that one could take this drug and came to the higher state of awareness, to expand the awareness. Usually the drugs act like the opposite. And this is the cool support that we can finally understand, to learn on these lessons that this is not the best way to improve ourselves. So I have never took any drugs. I also do not drink alcohol and so on, because I simply observe what the state of my mind and my body is when I take such drugs. And it is best to be in state of awareness. And what I learned that how I can expand my awareness is to even more extensive release myself from the prison of the mind. So this is the tools that Desteni has collected, assembled, and prepared, that we can all use in order to understand how mind works, and how even without taking the drugs, we are constantly in a state of like dream state, like sleepiness, like being partially drugged already by these energies of the mind. So
Okay.
It's not about taking even more drugs, but to release ourselves from the drugs of the energy that mind is constantly producing.
Okay, that's a cool point, Valentin. Exactly, like the movie, certain abilities that she develops, one may think that you need to be under certain circumstances in order to see or to understand, especially when it comes to the physical body, or even to understand how nature operates, and her relationship to the physical existence. Sylvia, do you want to add anything to it before we move on?
Yeah, because if you take the drug and you see that it is helping you, that you feel better or empowered even, then you start to build a dependency on it, and it's hard to take your self-responsibility if you depend on something outside of yourself. So that's, I think, the most important reason for me to say, well, drugs are not the way to go if you want to empower yourself, want to improve yourself, want to take self-responsibility, because it's all the whole strength. Don't need something from outside of you.
Okay, cool. It was cutting a little bit, but I think we understood everything that you were saying. No, it's fine, Lucivia. And actually, this takes us to the next. We received a question from Anna Briggs Thompson, and she asks, "What is your perspective on what the makers of the movie missed in showing of a human that has accessed all their potential capacity in their depiction of Lucy and her abilities?" So, from what you've seen in the movie, what is your perspective of what the makers of the movie missed?
Shall I go first?
Yeah, go ahead, Valentin.
All right. Yeah. So, firstly, we already discussed the point about the animals. They have totally missed the whole situation, why the animals exist, how they exist, what is their role in this world. Then the point about taking drugs, like this substance, like the Lucy took some drugs, or by this accident, when she had the drugs in their body, in the back, their pure penetrated her system, and then after some accumulation, her body started to disintegrate, to fall apart. And the solution was to take even more drugs, which is very strange. And then the final point is that she became like fully aware and transcended to the whole of existence. At the final point, she said, "I'm everywhere." But what does that mean? How could she now contribute to the humanity? How could she now stop hunger, wars? Where are practical solutions of this? Is this our final stage? This is similar to this, path of Buddhism, where they meditate and they want to transcend and they want to experience this ecstasy and the becoming one with the universal awareness. But what then? What are you when becoming like this? You are just becoming observer and doing nothing to take responsibility for this world. So it is important to understand that everyone in this world is individual, and every action we take has consequences. And we can now see what we are doing in this world, what kind of consequences we are producing, and we are hurting each other. And the point is, how can we correct this behavior of ours to become more responsible and to make this world a better place for all? And it is not necessary to become almighty. We can just focus our lives to make some, to set some goal that we will not be egoistic, selfless anymore, but to consider others as equals. And if certain amount of people decide like this, the world will become a much better place very quickly. Okay. Especially in this era of information society, where we can communicate, from other sides of the world in a blink of an eye.
Okay, cool, Valentin. It was a very interesting manifesto there. And then we can also share more links about what you're mentioning, what we mean by doing the best for all. So Sylvia, do you want to add anything to what Valentin just said in response to Anna?
Yeah, it's about the solutions, what he was also mentioning. There are no solutions given in the movie. I don't think the makers, that was not their starting point, I think, to give us solutions. But you imagine that when you walk with Lucy throughout the movie, you think, whoa, what a potential she's having there, and what would you do with it? It's almost like you can be the president of the United States for a day, and you ask a kid, what would you do? That's the same with, if you are Lucy with this potential, what would you do? Well, I wouldn't go and transform into a huge computer and just gather all the information that was already here on Earth, because that was what she did. Like the cells, she was passing on information, but it was the information that was already here. She didn't do anything with it. She didn't do anything, well, what we said, in the best interest of all. So that's the point I wanted to add.
Very cool. And thank you, Anna, for sending us your questions. And I can remind everyone that you can do the same and typing it to us, and we'll reply to you as soon as we can. And actually, this point that we were discussing, and from my perspective, what one element that we should also think is that she was caught in that situation by, like, out of nothing. She didn't do anything to actually get access to that knowledge. It was not as part of a decision. It was actually a mistake, an accident, and then she developed from there. But one of the points that I've been noticing as part of my process of like walking myself is to stick with decisions and to take a decision and walk it. And it's much harder when you do that, because you're going to face lots of resistance. So guys, what have you been realizing in your process of leaving a decision to become a better version of yourselves?
Well, it's not easy always, because you start off and well, at first you maybe think, I cannot take on this point. It's too huge. It's too vast. But then you go in and you take it step by step, and you see that you can change. You just, well, you experience it, and then well, for me, then I start enjoying it. I start enjoying exploring the whole point and seeing where I went, well, not so much wrong, but why did I took that path and didn't took the other one. So yeah, it is it's hard, but it's also fulfilling in getting to know yourself.
Absolutely, like self-rewarding. You know why you're doing it,
yeah,
and you keep on creating that for yourself. Yep. Valentin, do you want to share with us your decision of actually becoming, being responsible, as you were mentioning, responsible in the world?
Yeah, well, in my process, I faced the starting point of wanting to assist people or like share this information. The point was that within my family, certain individuals influenced me to constantly develop my self-perfection. And this was mostly in the technical point, in the professional sense, but then when I experienced troubles within my relationships, I also started to research other perspectives of this self-perfection. And then I had to transcend this starting point, which was egoistic, where I had to prove myself towards a certain person because this person wanted to be proud of me. And this is very delicate point that a lot of people, I think especially politicians, have to face. Because some people want to engage in self-perfection, but they're actually ego-driven. So this is what I had to transcend, or I'm still doing on this point.
Okay. I mean, in relation to the movie.
Can I add something?
Sure, Sylvia, go ahead.
I was just listening to your words, Valentin, and you said that's the other was going to be proud on you, and I was thinking that's the same as the drug. That's also like when you want someone to be proud on you, you're doing something, you want to improve yourself so that the other one is becoming proud on you. That's also like a form of a drug. It's not a physical drug, but it's kind of a drug, because then you're only motivated by, well, let's say your dad, because he's proud of you, and now you're moving yourself. Well, that's just a little point I wanted to add.
No, it's very interesting, Sylvia. And actually, Valentin, when you're mentioning, so I could relate to the career point, and actually in the movie, there is this, and everyone embraces knowledge. Actually, Morgan Freeman, the character that he's representing, he's giving lectures on the knowledge that he has. But then when in practical he faced this person that is representing everything that he has been studying, and she asks him, what should I do with all of this? He said, I don't know. So it's also like how we are so educated to knowledge and to get to accumulate knowledge, but not to actually put into practice, and actually seeing how we as human beings have to develop principles as well. And let me just read out loud a comment that Anna Brixen added to her previous question, was also that in the movie, the main character becomes very violent, and she starts killing other people for her own survival and self-interest. So this is also a point where you kind of, how do you balance out the knowledge and the little limited time that she has, comparing to the other people's lives where they are seemed as inferior because they don't have so much information and knowledge like she has. So that's actually the next point that I wanted us to talk about. When we come across this access to information, and what do you have to say about this knowledge god that is promoted not only in the movie but in our society?
Yeah. Well, we are being brought up with it, because we know when we go to school, it's important that you put all the knowledge and information in your head, and then you are rewarded, just like Valentin said before. So we're just so used to it, and we're not used to investigate the information that is given to us. It's not like, well, we're not taking self-responsibility for it. We're not taking it back to ourselves, and we're most certainly not applying it, because we have all the information that is in our heads, in our minds. Oh, we didn't live it because that's impossible. So yeah, it's a big thing, but it's also like an obstacle. It's blocking us from moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to that. Valentin, you want to add something?
Yeah, I have been researching some like advanced educational material that is also used in the elite circles. And the realization there is that everyone thinks that like these people who are super successful have some very great advanced knowledge, and thus they are successful. But actually, what is not being realized that they are successful because they are masters of the basics.
What do you mean by that?
They are mastering the basics. They do not possess advanced knowledge. They are just very skilled in the basics. Like, you know, some advanced sportsmen, like footballer or baseball player, they constantly practice the basic movements, you know, basic hits, and they constantly practice it over and over again.
Okay,
and
until
they
they become
masters.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Are you also saying like like the parenting thing, that you see it a lot and then you just do it, but you don't know why you do it. You just do it because that's put into you,
Uh,
like a
I
parrot.
understand what you were referring to.
Well, just go on because I'm not sure if it's if it's relating.
Yeah. So we are looking for some advanced technological solutions, some beings that would come and give us some advanced knowledge. But what we need to do is just look what is here and see how we can improve what we already have here and what we know about these things, just from the perspective of common sense, not to actually to stop, to slow down, and to see how we can, yes, apply the knowledge and how we can become even better in the basics of understanding how the society works, what are the consequences of our actions.
Yeah, it makes sense, as you're saying, like if we are waiting for someone to get this level of knowledge, it's not going to take us anywhere. I mean, this movie is just the proof of that, I mean, we have to become that which we want to see in the world, and that's like a very basic principle that it's not yet being lived by each one of us. And also when I was, but at the same time in the movie, I noticed there have been some very basic principles there that were shared and that I enjoyed, like the fact that she reminded herself constantly to breathe, like to not stress out, to be focused and to be there, present, and to find solutions. I think that is also an interesting point to see that for you to breathe, you don't need to have the knowledge, right? You can just breathe, be yourself, and stay grounded. And this kind of in our society, if we are so focused on the knowledge, then we're going to miss out. We miss out our bodies, and even if we know how the bodies work, that is pointless if we're not disciplined to take care of the body. So sometimes we see doctors that they don't do what they preach. So again, it's like a society which is still a bit superficial, and that this movie kept on these patterns over there. So guys, we have about like 7 minutes left, and I would like us to look at 2 points. The first is probably to Sylvia, because I remember you talked about that in a previous chat with me about time. This, like Lucy in the movie, she's always trying to get more time, and then this brings to the point that when she's actually moving back in time, which is a pretty good graphic in the movie, she's seeing the patterns repeating. What do you have to say about that, and how is your relationship to time has been changing with your process?
Yeah, when I started process, I was 40, and when I started to understand what it was about and that it was a long process, I was just freaking out. I was like, oh my God, I have only, well, how many years do I have still have to just come to an end and finish this process? So I was quite worried. And then I understood that, well, it has nothing to do with age. You just start your process, even if you're 80, you just start it and then go from there. So that was kind of a relief. So then time wasn't against me, but it was flowing or going with me. And I think time is cool because time gives you the opportunity to go back in your mind and just walk back your own timelines. And there was also in a movie where she was talking on the phone with her mom and just reminding herself of all the kisses her mom had been giving her as a child. So she was, in fact, in really high speed going through her timelines and remembering all things that were of value to her. So that's a cool thing with time. And you can also project in the future, and that can be well, in your benefit or not in your benefit, because she can project something that you want, a goal that you want to achieve. So then it's a cool thing. So time is cool, but you have to remember that you're here and that's where it all happens here. But you can utilize going back and going forth in time, because time is the thing that binds us here.
And also, like as you were saying before about the sins of the fathers, like we have this system within us, our pre-programming, and we have been walking that in our process. So like it's important to have that awareness, and even if we use that, like in the movies, to suggest that time is the measure, the unity of measurement. It's not the human, which gives us more of a broadened aspect of actually existence. We're not just the human being, but actually seeing in a greater scale of things. So this is also how our process has been assisting us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just having an overview, not seeing only you in this little bubble, but just see all the bubbles that are there and that interconnect with each other. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Cool. And actually, we have a question from Andres Felipe Tenjo. I'm just going to select it out so you can also watch it. But actually, it comes from the point of time. It was this scene of the movie, and he asks us, what could you say about Lucy's clarification about 1 + 1? Is it maybe a oneness perspective that we don't realize yet? Valentin, do you want to give it a go?
I do not remember about her mentioning anything about plus 1 + 1.
Yeah, I do.
Go for it, Sylvia.
It's in the same part where she's saying, I think that's it, but maybe Andres can give us a clue if we're not right. It is about letters and numbers do not exist. That's what she says. It does not exist. It's only for us to make the world or life comprehensible. So that's what's triggering this 1 + 1 with me. But I'm not sure if he's referring to that.
Right. Go for it.
Well, I was thinking if that's so, I was also saying in the chat before we had before that if we don't recognize words, we don't recognize that we define ourselves by the words we speak, and we don't see that we create our world by words, because letters are words in the end. But I'm not sure if I'm on the right track here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perspective. And Andres, a point that when she was mentioning the 1 + 1, I didn't see it as bringing to our point where we realize 1 + 1 = 2, meaning how equal we all are, and our shared responsibility, where each one of us is an individual that is part of the whole, and that is the oneness and equality. And in the movie, that part wasn't covered. However, that there was this perception that she shared, which was how our existence, how we're all part of the same matter and substance. And when she becomes that black thing in the end, was actually the matter and substance that represents where everything like singularity comes and gets it becomes that massive computer, which was still associated to knowledge. But that was my understanding of the movie, where there was still this representation of existence as a whole, meaning what we see and what we perceive to be separated from us is not so. And then you see also the trees where everything is alive, even though we don't see it, and how limited we as human beings become because we are separated from the matter that it's us. So that's what I saw in the movie that could relate to the oneness that we talk. But the 1 + 1 was, I think she was referring to something else.
Yeah, he's already answering us. It was the part
awesome
about the letters, and yeah. So
and you
cool.
know, guys, we have 1 minute left. And what I was thinking is, you know, in the end of the movie, when she says, she leaves this kind of Buddhist message, as Valentin was saying, like life was given to us and now we know what to do with it. So I'm asking you, do we really know? Do we know what to do with our lives? And is it relevant to know? What do you have to say about it?
Well, I don't think we know what to do with life, because if we knew, life would be really, really different than it is today. So yeah, I think we should get to know ourselves first and then decide what to do with life. And maybe that's quite a process, but we have to walk it first, because you can't, well, you can't mess up the thing. You cannot have the outcome before you have the equation. So yeah.
Cool, Valentin. Any final words on that?
Yeah, so I think that we have enough knowledge to understand that we are all interconnected and interdependent, and that we need to act more responsible towards each other. Like in the movie, the strange was that more that she became aware, more violent she became and started to kill others. And this is not the actual consequence of becoming more aware. So this was, I think, just a distraction here in the movie, like wanting to, make excuses for the elite that do sacrifice the lives of individuals for the higher purpose.
That's a very cool point. I'm glad that you brought it up, because we had not mentioned that. But yeah, it makes sense, like this idea of superiority that unfortunately is also part of the problem in our world. So guys, I really appreciate your participation today during the Hangout, and thanks for everyone watching and for the questions that we had. And just before we leave, I just wanted to also add that when watching movies, we also have to see and to question, what is the movie, why was it created in first place, what is the message, and how can we read in between the lines. And apart from those points that we mentioned in terms of violence, and also the celebration of knowledge that is actually not what awareness means, there have been, from my perspective, there are some interesting points that we can take away, and how actually walking the Desteni I process have been assisting us to reach awareness that otherwise it wasn't the knowledge, it was not our degrees that gives us this awareness of who we are, and actually walking the self-forgiveness to dig into our minds and to understand how our thinking process works, and the words we speak, and how we have creating our lives, and how it defines us as humans. So I think this is a very interesting movie for those that watch it, and then please visit our Lead Desteni I Process link that I'm going to share in the description, so you can know more about how to walk the layers of your mind in a very structured and supportive way. So that's all from us today, yeah, bye guys, and see you next time. We're gonna have a hangout next Friday again. So I'll look forward to seeing everyone again, and the next host next Friday. Bye guys.
Bye bye.
See ya.